Okay, if you recall, I wanted to put down like some foam here to kind of raise that surface just a little bit so that the battery wouldn't teeter-totter over this edge here, and so that it would also have some stiction so it wouldn't slide as easy even though we got the bump stops. So this is an MST product. It is 20 millimeter by 80 millimeter by 1 millimeter thick adhesive foam strips, and they sell it in different sizes. And since it's shorty packs, all I need is a single strip. And that will solve that problem. Okay, I am going to be doing some tuning. I've already done a few adjustments, so a lot of this stuff is kind of redundant. This is a new setup station that I got. It's an Integy product. It's quite nice. Comes with its own carrying bag. Everything is separated into various levels of foam where all the pieces fit. I have a hoodie system. Well, I've actually got two different ones. I've got a setup station for 1/10 scale cars. The problem with this guy is these components are excellent. They just bolt right on to where your wheel would be right here. You slide your axle on. Sometimes you need some little spacers like for the rear where things don't quite line up. The weakness is this ruler, and it's an absolutely necessary item because when the ruler slides to the end, like on this one, you got a little point here that it goes to, and then that way you can read this gauge. And likewise, you slide it over this way and you can read that gauge over here, and that way you get your toe for each side. Now, the downside of this is supposedly it wouldn't work with this car, which is the 110, because of the adapters. Now, what this does is, as I was saying, the weakness on this kit here is with the hoodies. Almost every 1/10 scale car I have, this ruler is too narrow. It needs to be like 4 to 6 inches wider, and there's just no swap out for that. But one thing you can do if you have one, you can buy an Aeromax. The problem with the Aeromax, though, it doesn't fit over the pins. It's just not a perfect world, guys. But I'm working on solutions, so I'll probably end up sending back to Aeromax and see if Hoodie makes a wider ruler, because it doesn't even work on my two-wheel drive buggies. The only thing it might work on is some of my 110 road cars. Now, this is said it is for formula cars, and so that is probably where it's going to work. Now, I've also got a Hoodie 1/8 scale, and that too has a very short ruler for some reason, I don't know. The advantage of the Integy kit, and it's much less expensive, is that it's made for 1/8 scale and 10 scale. So to make it work with a 10 scale car, because most of you probably know 1/8 scale cars are going to have, just a moment, A-scale cars are going to have wheel lugs like this. Okay. Now, all of these pieces are adapters for 1/10 scale vehicles of different types, whether it's an M5 or, and they list all the different vehicles. They give you a legend here. As to what is going to work with what, and some of these you need to buy extra adapters, like the set that I have here. They were $20. It's Type C adapter for Universal Setup Station System, and they wouldn't normally work up front here because there's such a small amount of axle sticking out. If you invert them 180 degrees and first attach the adapter to the arm here, it screws on just fine and it works great. So you can make it work. And as you can see, it bolts right to the rear without any modification. It does have these caster adapters here. Let me just flip this over. These little swing arms here. The problem with these is, or it's not a problem, it's just they're not necessary. Caster on almost all of these vehicles is fixed. It is set by hardware. And you should just be able to look at your hardware and go, okay, this is a +5, this is a standard kick of 25, so that gives me 30 degrees. If you want to, you can hang them like I did, and then all you need to do is adjust it until you can see that it lines up vertically and read your caster setting. But mainly what you're trying to do here is you're trying to set your toe and your camber, front and rear, and this kit will more than easily do that for almost any car made. The one adapter set that they say you need, I believe it's Type E, doesn't seem to be available at the moment. I believe Integy is in the process of producing more, so I'll put my name on a list. Hopefully I'll get some info back on that in the not too distant future. But I like it, and this ruler here that they give you, as you can see, it's an item that has to be assembled, and it assembles quite solidly. It also comes with 2 different pieces. So if you've got a really wide vehicle that has a lot of dish to the wheels, so the axles are extra long, you've got these 2 items to choose from. And for the 110 car right here that the hoodie tool will not work on, this does work just fine. I wonder if the hoodie has the same size aperture there, just out of curiosity. Theirs might even fit. No, yes, it does fit, but see, you can't get the second slot in here. And this is the longer, this is the ruler that came with my other hoodie kit for 1/8. I don't know how they expect you to make these work, but whatever. You know, all in all, hoodie products are great, and if I were just doing this for a regular road car, or if I wasn't worried about the rear end here, I can use this ruler that comes with the Integy with my hoodie parts, because it fits properly over here, so it'll give me my toe. So I could simply use these 2 up front with this. The rear doesn't have much adjustment. All you've got back there is caster, and that's just an adjustment of that. So it's easy to pop these on the back and adjust your caster. So sometimes it takes more than one kit, as you can see, to get all the settings you want. But so I'm going to go ahead and make my adjustments. Like I said, I've already got my camber angle set correctly. And don't be distracted by all the lines on the board. I'm not even using those. My camber angle is 1 degree and -1 and -1 degree. I'd already set that using the hoodie pieces. These obviously work just as well because they are giving me the same reading. Now let's go for toe. 0.5 degrees positive toe. And let's see for our rear. We do not have a toe setting, of course, because that is set with the pucks or the pills, depending on what you want to call them. So all I need to do now is set the steering up. So what I want to do first is I've got that aligned to center. Okay, so I need to shorten this just a little bit. Okay, just to kind of clear things up where I'm going here. First thing you need to do is adjust this tie rod here so that this is in the center and that this is vertical. So you get that totally vertical, and then this is going to need to come in, so that it needs to go this direction. And that's loosening it. I need to tighten it. Okay, that looks vertical, and that looks centered. So I think we're where we need to be there. Okay, this arm needs to come in. So that means it needs to be tightened slightly. Make sure that's centered. Check our gauge here. Okay, I think I'm good there. Camber's all good still. And rear camber should be fine. Because like I said, I already set that. Not quite. This one's a little off. See, one thing I like about the Integy setup is because the car is hanging, you can press down and you can watch the camber change if you have the car set up to change camber, which I do. So as the rear suspension compresses, you get a little more camber. That's going to help it bite the rear wheels into turns a little better. So I have 1 degree negative camber left and right in the rear. Okay, this car is all set up and ready to go. Now I'll show you what the how this adapter normally works and how I'm making it work. Okay, normally you would take this adapter and you would screw it on here. Now in the rear that works fine because this hole is larger partway through, and then you get threads partway through in M4. As you can see, this is ID5. Now, because this has no threads here, because the rear works differently because we have a hub, and I'm going to show you how that looks in just a second. See how this goes right on here like that. And the reason it fits is because, number one, it's longer axle, and then there's this little stub here that's wider than the threads. That's why this is partially drilled out. That way it fits on there, and then it just tightens on like that. Now, that's how our front one should also work, but it doesn't because we would need a different adapter that would have threads, you know, all the way through from the front. It wouldn't have a larger hole from one side. So what I'm doing is I'm attaching I'm taking my adapter and I'm putting it through backwards, and then I'm taking the nut and tightening it down onto the ball bearing so that it has rotation, which is what it needs, and then I just screw it on, pointing the opposite direction. And there we go. Everything works the way it should. So, if you get the C adapters, you can use them on the front of the associated buggies and whatever else this adapter is needed for. I'm probably going to get all of the adapters at some point because I have enough cars that I would need them. These I will probably never use again. I just put them on just to see what they do. And again, they are just for setting your eyeballing up your caster, which again, on most cars is a mechanical adjustment. It's not something you can change. It is set by default by the pieces you have. And if you want to make a change in that, you either change out the front block or you change the caster block or something along those lines. But now, having actually used this Integy setup station, I recommend it. Again, this is the Universal Setup System by Integy, and it's under $200, which is a great price for something that will do so many different vehicles, 1/8 and 1/10s. Now, when you're assembling, make sure that you set up your lefts and your rights. In other words, you've got the markings are only on one side. That doesn't matter as much because, again, this is your caster adjustment, but you might as well do it properly if you're going to do it. So in other words, you've got 2 rears and you've got 2 fronts. Otherwise, they are identical to each other.